What's up, everybody? This is CheekyCP, and the challenge was a dancehall track. So I'm going to play my beat, and I'm going to break it down and show you how I made this beat. All right, give me 1 second, John. And here we go.
I believe that this is the wickedest and the roughest style I've ever made. I'm coming to the top because this is a life.
But with all due respect and honor, for me, it has always been about the music.
So that's the track. All right, so this was a fun week. A lot of interesting stuff happened this week. I didn't have enough time. This is actually considered this is my first beat on Logic. So if you watch any of the other episodes, I spent a lot of time on my iPad using Beatmaker 3, doing everything that way. And I hit kind of like a RAM issue, a CPU issue when I was running tons of different instruments. And I said, enough of this. So I kind of upgraded my system, got Logic, and I'm forcing myself to learn it. So this week, everything went slow. It just made me love Beatmaker 3 even that much more because you can really just get through so much stuff. Sampling, chopping, everything in Beatmaker 3 is 10 times faster so far than with Logic. And maybe I just don't know the system enough. Anyways, so last week I even made the beat in Beatmaker 3 and pushed it into Logic, just like all the audio tracks. This week I used my MIDI controller and everything and all the instruments and broke this down. So, okay. The main thing I did this week was I just stuck with your stereotypical boom, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat type of scenario, right? So when you listen to just the drums, there's a bunch of different drums that I'm using. I'm using the African kit, which showed its face last week in the Black Panther challenge. Just a regular drum synth kit that came in Logic. Another drum kit, and then I used some claves. So this is the core of the beat that I wrote that that built the song. So I played that out on the controller. You could hear it kind of lagging at one point, but then I really didn't even add, I wanted it to kind of like just be this. If I had a little more time, I was going to arrange it so that it was like broken down, really bare, just this. And then it was going to go into build every single time. But that's the core of the beat. And then you'll really hear the dancehall feel when you hear like the backbeat. So like today, I basically added some hi-hat and some snare. So that's how this sounds. Okay. One thing that Logic does, which I don't know if I really like yet, is a lot of the drum kits have presets on them that add a lot of like reverb and stuff like that. So it makes it the sounds sound really great like by themselves. But once you start adding these tracks all together, you kind of have like all different types of reverb acting against each other. So I'm not really sure if I really like that yet, but so far it sounds okay. Then came the main rhythm that I wrote, and this is it right here. And the feel that I was going for was to kind of go back and forth, right? So essentially it's like, I don't even know, like 8 bars with one feel and then 8 bars with that other feel. So if you listen to kind of like Rick Ross, some of his beats, they kind of have like an 8 bar at like one feel, and then it just drops down almost like, I don't know, like a minor third. And then it has the same thing going on, just transpose the minor third. And something about that, every single time it comes back around to the beginning, just makes it sound so hard. So I wanted like to mimic that with this dancehall rhythm. And then I supported that a little bit further with a bunch of different things. So the first thing that you'll hear supporting that rhythm is this whistle. I'm sorry, here it is. It's the flute, which doesn't come in until the second half. All right, and then I had those things working pretty well. And then what I did was I added some guitar and bass. So at the very end, you see all my different tracks. So the cool thing about Logic is when you record guitar, you could just have a loop recording and it will just add the tracks. Track 1 sucked, track 2 sucked, track 3 sucks. You could just keep recording it until you hit it right, and then you take the best of your tracks. And in fact, you could actually just use this little cursor and say, okay, I liked the first part of this track 1, the second part of track 2, and the third part of track 3. And you could like almost build like, sound like, oh, I'm an amazing guitar player, when in reality, it was like 12 different takes to actually make that happen. So I added guitar and I added bass. The bass, I really wanted it to be a synth bass, but I didn't have enough time. So I just like whipped something out. And when I whipped it out, it was kind of like a little bit more, less staccato feeling, less melodic, and just a little bit more like groovy. So I'm just going to play the guitar and the bass with some of the drums, just so you kind of hear what that sounds like. Right. Ciao. All right, I whipped it out and whipped it out. Okay, sorry about that. So that's like the core of what this song is. Some of the cool things that I've been learning about is I have this MIDI controller. It's Arturia. And in fact, if you watch any of the other episodes, E talks about a software called Pigments. So Arturia actually makes Pigments. And when I bought this controller, I'll show you what it is right here. It's the Minilab Mark II. You might not be able to see it, but it's actually a pretty dope controller. And you can't see it. It's all black. So anyways, but when you go and register, they actually give you like this free analog synth software. And it has some of the presets from Pigments in it. And it has like presets from all this other software that they make. So it's pretty sick. And I use that to make all these little sound effects that you'll hear throughout the song. So I'm going to play a couple of them, just the sound effects, because they're kind of cool. I really like them. And I threw them in the background for some of the track. That's the intro. I don't know what that said. Mental? What? Okay, so then what else did I do? Okay, so this is the fun part. This week, I was listening to a lot of dancehall, and I came across. Does anyone know who Fuzzy Jones is? Okay, if you don't know who Fuzzy Jones is, you're about to hear him.
I believe that this is the wickedest and the roughest style that ever made on Godland. Cause you know that no person can get him going without him no sweat. Come in, cut and come because this is a live death.
So he,
Kanye,
yeah,
used that a lot. He used that for that Mercy song.
Yes.
He used that for a couple different records of his, actually.
yes. And I was listening to a couple tracks, and I'm like, wait, I know that voice. And I looked up, I'm like, who the hell is doing this like rant at the beginning of the song? It was Fuzzy Jones. And then I was like, holy shit, that's the Kanye joint, right? So I used him in all of his tracks. If you look him up, like there's all these King Tubby, he just does all dub music. And you listen to like some of his CDs or his albums, and it's just like, this dude is just talking shit in the beginning of every single song, yelling pretty hard here.
I believe that this is the
Anyway, so I found him, I sampled him, and then the next sample in there is David Rodigan, who is like a UK-based dude who does all those sound clashes where it's basically him against another reggae DJ. And
But with all due respect
that's
and
this
honor,
sample.
For me, it has always been about the music and the blessings and good fortune I've had.
So if you don't know about David Rodigan, look him up too, because it's just so much fun watching him go against another DJ and battling it out. So I think that's mainly the track. Some, Bring It Back Selecta album drops here. That's how I made this beat. I'm going to open it up.